and she takes her soul gem and she crushes it. And as she's like thrusts herself at Sayaka, the spear penetrates the body, of which Sayaka goes right into her, and then boom, this massive explosion, and the explosion just completely envelops them, and it eviscerates them, it explodes them, it turns them into just ash as Homura and Madoka escape as the labyrinth just falls around them. And we see that both Sayaka and Kyoko are dead. All right, my friends, let's go ahead and move on to my review, my spoiler review, my scene by scene by scene breakdown to Madoka Magica episode 9. So, as I've said before, this series has just continued to escalate. It's continued to get even darker and more twisted as it's gone along. This wonderful deconstructive take on Magic Girl anime, stuff like Sailor Moon. And last episode was probably my favorite episode of the series so far, which is saying something because, it keeps getting better and better. And for those that don't know, last episode, we've been following, Sayaka. She's recently become a magic girl, and she made her wish. So her friend and the person that she probably loves most in her life, Kyosuke, he would be healed, be able to be a musician again, play his violin and stuff. So it's all working out. Well, it's not working out because she's had a host of issues. Mental issues, physical issues, and she has slowly been devolving, actually not slowly at all, really quickly devolving, quickly falling apart, weakening herself, purposely not going after witches so she can imbue her soul gem with power, and that's made her act erratic. That's possibly made her kill various peoples that she's come across. And the last time that we saw her, she was in that train station, that subway station, and she was talking to Kyoko. Kyoko was trying to help her, but Sayaka revealed that her soul gem had completely gone black, was completely clouded, and within a few moments, and boom, it exploded. Kyoko didn't even understand what was happening, chat, and we see Sayaka seemingly turning into this monstrous witch-like creature. That was the last time we saw her. Well, we pick up moments, seconds after the events of episode 8, and that has indeed come to pass. Sayaka has indeed transformed into a horrific witch, but Kyoko, she wants to deny it. She doesn't think that that's what's actually happened. But we see just this monstrous, huge creature just form in the middle of the subway, and what's really cool, its whole theme is like music. It's a common. It's very interesting. It's music and like the aesthetics of like a subway and trains, because that's where she happened to transform. She transformed in the subway in this train station, but the music is like, oh, how's the music tied into? Because she's obsessed with Kyosuke. She's in love with him. Her whole wish was based around healing him, and now her curse is the thing that she loved most, which was him and his musical talents. And she's become this giant, monstrous conductor, like in front of a huge orchestra. But Kyoko, she's still trying to figure out what happened. She sees the body of Sayaka like falling like right in front of this giant kaiju-sized witch. She immediately goes for Sayaka's body, ends up grabbing her, trying to wake her up. But at that point, because we learned earlier in the season, chat, that once you become a magical girl, your physical form, that's not you anymore. Like, what is you is the little soul gem. That's where your soul, your very sweet essence was placed inside of this object. Your body's just a husk. That's all it serves. That's what Kube eventually admitted to all of them later on. And so Kyoko's like, you gotta wake up, Sayaka, you gotta wake up. But, she's not waking up because that's not her anymore. That's just a lifeless corpse at that point. And then suddenly we see Homura. Homura's always coming in at the last minute. She's always coming at the 11th hour. And she's like, we gotta go. She's like, Homura's like, yeah, it's me. You're welcome. We gotta get going. And so they start like running down these tracks, trying to escape the labyrinth. as Sayaka, who is now this monstrous witch, is throwing as much stuff that she can at them to probably try to kill them. They do eventually escape her labyrinth, and Kyoko is just kind of holding a dead body. She's like, what are we gonna do with this? And Homura's just like, we gotta get rid of the body. Oh my God. And so they walk out of the train station. Meanwhile, Madoka, who has she's been looking for Sayaka all goddamn day. She's been trying to find her this entire time. She left school trying to see where she might have gone. And she eventually runs into both Sayaka and, technically Sayaka, but she runs into Homura and Kyoko, and she's like, oh my God, what happened? Because she sees, them holding the body of Sayaka, and they put Sayaka down, and Homura, first of all, Kyoko is still kind of in denial about what happened. She's like, I don't understand. Suddenly, she presented her grief seed, and it had gone all black, and then there was this massive explosion. This witch showed up, and Homura is just like, you know exactly what happened. You saw it was right in front of your face. And she looks at Madoka is just crying now at this point. She's just crying again. She's, desperately trying to resuscitate Sayaka. She's doing CPR. She's doing mouth-to-mouth chat. Nothing's working. She's dead. Sayaka's dead at this point. And Homura explains that what happened was she basically was just abusing herself. She was constantly exhausting herself. She was going after these familiars. She was not refilling her soul gem. It became darker and darker and darker. And, of course, it was revealed by Kube at the end of the last episode that the whole purpose of creating Magical Girl is to create witches. That's what he's always wanted. And Homura explains that once your soul gem has become clouded and completely darkened, it explodes, and you then become a witch, and whatever was left of you is now gone. And Kyoko is just like, I can't believe that. No, there has to be a way to save her. There has to be a way. And even Madoka is just saying, we have to try to get through to her at this point. And Homura is just like, you guys aren't understanding me. You guys aren't getting this, okay? As soon as she became magical, as soon as all of us became magical girls, it's like, this is what inevitably is going to happen to us, all right? And so that's why I've told you from the very fucking beginning, Madoka, that you shouldn't get involved with this. And then as soon as Sayaka accepted her role as magic girl, I told you to forget her, because I knew something like this could happen. I didn't think it happened this soon, but it happened, because Sayaka, she just couldn't take it. She had so many various issues, emotional, psychological issues, and it exacerbated. All this exacerbated to the point where she became this witch. And Kyoko, she's just like realizes what actually is happening. She's no longer denial. She's like, we gotta at least try to do it. We gotta at least try to save her. And Homura's like, you know better than anyone that this is going to get nasty, and that the people closest to us could be horrifically hurt, by this type of life. All right, you need to go your own separate path. Plus, we gotta prepare for Valberschnott, whatever the hell that witch's name. They got this big witch coming, chap, that's about to create this huge, massive labyrinth in the city, and they're called Valberschnott or something. So we got to prepare for that shit. And so she does a hair thwip. She does 2 anime hair thwips back to back. She does an initial one at Kyoko, and then she does another one as she walks away, and she's like, yeah, I got fucking business I got to take care of. I'm sorry what happened to Sayaka, but it was inevitable at that point. It was inevitable. Eventually, we cut back home. Oh, and then before she leaves, she turns around, she says, also, you guys are going to have to get rid of this body, because it's going to start to rot. It's going to start to stink up everywhere, okay? And we can't be caught with the dead body of a teenage girl, because people are going to start asking a lot of questions, and it could get even more dangerous for not only us, but also for them and their various families, okay? So you got to clean. I saved her, but I wipe my hands of this, all right? The next step is on you. All right, that's your task, so you got to get rid of this dead body. And so she leaves. Eventually, we cut to Madoka's bedroom, and, her her, curtains are drawn and everything. And like, it's kind of like raining lightly outside. She's completely like, got shadows all around her, and she's just crying. She's just miserable. She feels so guilty over the whole situation, chat. And chat, oh, this little son of a bitch. Fucking Kube arrives, and he pops up. He's like, and we don't even like see, we just see his shadow. We see his outline outside, and he just, and Madoka knows he's there. She can feel his presence as she's crying. And he just says, do you mind if I could come in? And she doesn't even answer him. She's just asking him, like, did you know this would happen? Did you know this was the result of everything? That magical girls will now become witches. And Kube's like, listen. Yes. Did I know this would happen? Yes. This is what we want. This is what needs to happen, Madoka, okay? And she's like, why didn't you tell us that this was going to happen, that this was going to be a result of it? And he's like, well, you didn't ask, and it wasn't necessary to tell you. And she's like, you're a monster. And he's like, semantics. He's like, listen. I'll provide you with some information that honestly is not really necessary. But since you seem to be distressed by what I can tell, I'll give you something to alleviate your mind. He's like, listen, you humans, you're very, very emotional, and I come from a race of extraterrestrials, aliens to you, and we came to learn through our research that the energy in the universe and the cosmos itself is finite, okay? It can't continue on for forever, right? And we have dedicated ourselves to trying to find a better source of energy to make sure that life, the universe, and the cosmos itself keeps going, that the planets keep spinning around their various suns and stars, okay? All right? We realized that the energy across the universe is lowering due to entropy. And we've traveled across the cosmos. We've visited various other races, and they weren't what we needed, okay? But then we found you humans. You are very, very interesting. You're fascinating. And we realized that humans have this source of energy, this emotional energy that we were looking for, that we were incapable of producing ourselves. And we noticed that you young women, oh man, you guys are incredibly emotional. And you go through this, I don't really understand, this evolution from when you were girls to women. And we thought, well, we want to be able to harness that. We want to provide you with the means to use that energy to help save the universe. That volatile energy that it exists inside of you. And, Madoka, she's like asking, like, why would you want to create this? Why do you want to sacrifice so many people just to create this new source of energy? And Kube, again, just staring at her, like no emotion whatsoever on his face, just looking at her dead in the eye. And, because Madoka's also just like really frustrated by this. Is like, why have you lied? Why you've tricked us? And Kube's like, we don't understand like this tricking or this lying thing. It doesn't make any sense. It's like, again, semantics, but to answer your question, why are we doing this to you? Why are we doing this to the young female members of your species? And he's like, well, to be perfectly honest with you, you just don't really matter in the grand scheme of things. Do you know how many humans are made within a second? Within just 1 second? And she's like, she can't believe what she's hearing from him. She's just stoned. She's just like silent as stone. And he's like, 10 of you. 10 of you every single second. You constantly just reproduce. It's very, very unusual. So, in essence, you humans are meat. You're meat that provides us with the means to the inevitable end, to the conclusion. You're able to save the universe and the cosmos. And so, instead of criticizing me, what my race is doing, you instead should probably be thanking us. So, Madoka, I just want to say to you, you're welcome. Oh, that son of a bitch, that fucking little asshole. And she's just disgusted by him. She's disgusted by him. She looks at him and she's like, get out of my room. Leave me alone. You've ruined my life. You've ruined my friend's life. You've murdered my friend. And Kube's like, I can tell that you're probably upset. So I'll just go ahead. I'll just leave you be. I'll leave you be. And he's about to go. And you just see his outline at this point. But it's cool because in the scene itself, like, he's constantly, like, moving around the room. Like, he's almost, like, shifting or teleporting. Sometimes he's, like, right in front of her. Sometimes he's, like, nestled in her cute little stuffed animal collection. And sometimes he's right outside her window where you just see his outline, you see his shadow. And so he disappears in front of her. He disappears out of her animal collection. So the only thing that's left is his shadow. And he pretty much says, he's like, listen, things will probably get pretty difficult for you and the friends that you have left. So if you ever want to become a magical girl, you can always ask me. And then he leaves. It's like, oh, you son of a bitch, you son of a bitch. Eventually we cut to Kyoko. Kyoko, I think she's taken Sayaka to her apartment. And she's keeping watch over her. She apparently is heating her body or keeping her vitals, her husk basically, like, stable with magic. And she's later visited by Kube. And Kube's like asking her, is like, I don't know why you're doing that. You know, she's a witch now. And she's like, you know what? The last thing I want to see is you. But I have a question to ask you. Like, will you actually answer it truthfully? It's just like, I'll answer what I can. And she asks, is it possible to reverse the effects of becoming a witch? Can I save Sayaka? And Kube's like, he's quiet for a minute. There's a pregnant pause. There's a 9-month pregnant pause before he starts talking again. He's like, well, no one has tried to do that before. There's never been an attempt by another magical girl to try to save a witch. And Kyoko's like, well, I'm gonna be the first one to try. I'm gonna do it. And Kube's just like, he just looks at her again with that same just expressionless look on his face, and he says, well, I'm sure you'll try your best. And then we cut to, it's the next day, it's the next morning, and Madoka is walking to school with Hitomi, and Hitomi's talking, but she notices Madoka seems pretty distracted. She's like, what's wrong, Madoka? And she's like, oh, nothing, just a lot going on in school, just haven't been feeling well. And she's like, oh, where's Sayaka? She's like, oh, I don't think she's feeling well either. Must be something going around. And she's like, yeah, I think Sayaka might be a little mad at me over, everything with Kyosuke. And I feel kind of bad about that. And, Madoka's just telling her, he's like, oh, I would just forget about it. I'm sure she's not actually mad because she's fucking dead. That's why. But as they're walking, suddenly, Madoka is telepathically contacted by Kyoko. And Kyoko says, like, hey, I'm not here to bother you, but I really need to speak with you, and it's about Sayaka. Can you ditch school so we can talk? And she's like, sure, let's do it. And she apologizes to Hitomi, and she goes up and she meets with Kyoko. And they eventually meet, like, probably near, like, Homura's house, although Homura, as far as I know, is not involved in this plan. And, they meet in this alleyway. And Kyoko's like, listen, I just want to apologize for how things ended, just pretty much between everyone. I've had my own ideas of what this whole thing is. I've made peace with of my own choices, but this has escalated and people have gotten hurt. And Sayaka, I believe that she wanted to do her best to help as many people as she possibly could, but she didn't have people around her that could properly help her. At least I didn't help with that. And so I want to make up for it. And I want to apologize to you, and I want to work with you to try to save her. And the only way to do that is if we confront whatever she is now at this point. And Madoka is just like, is it possible to save her, to turn her back? And Kyoko's just like, listen, I talked to Kube, and I don't want to trust him at all. I asked him about this, and he said, like, no other magical girl has ever tried this before, but at this point, we don't exactly have many options, and I want to at least try. Will you help me? And Madoka's like, I'll help you as much as I can. She's like, you know what? Let's start over completely. And she holds out her hand. She's like, my name is Madoka, and Kyoko's like, you're weird, and shakes her hand. But they agree to team up and to try to help Sayaka in her witch form. And eventually they go and they head to the labyrinth. Homura is at school, and she realizes that, like, Madoka's not there. She realizes that Sayaka's not there. She realizes that Kyoko's probably not there, and she's like, fuck, I gotta go. They're up to something. I gotta leave. She raises her hand to her teacher. She's like, what's up, Miss Homura? And she's like, I got the Hershey squirts. I gotta go. I got the rumbly tumblies. I need to leave. He's like, well, don't be squirting in here. Go to the nurse. And so she leaves and she cuts classes. Eventually, though, we then cut back to both Kyoko and Madoka, and as they're walking towards the labyrinth, and Kyoko admits, she's like, listen, I'm not only am I doing this trying to save Sayaka, but we're also going to need her because there's this witch that is incredibly powerful, Walpurgisnacht, which is a hell of a name. And Homura and I have been working together recently, planning for this, and in order to be able to defeat her, we're going to have to all work together. But before we even do that, we need to eliminate all distractions, and we need to try to save Sayaka. And Madoka's just like, well, listen, I'll do anything that I possibly can to help you guys. She's like, I appreciate that. I don't want you to become a magical girl, okay? I'm no Kube. But I'm just letting you know that this threat is coming, and we need to be ready for it. And so we need to handle this first, obviously. And so they eventually enter the labyrinth. She cuts it open, like, splits, and they go inside, and as they're walking, they suddenly, like, the whole room begins to shift, and they're thrusted forward into the domain of witch Sayaka, which the labyrinth itself has now grown even more massive, and she's grown even bigger and more powerful, and she's like, it's pretty magic. It's like she's conducting this huge orchestra, and there's all these, like, notes flying past, and they're, like, razor sharp and shit, and they're, like, cutting into the environment and everything. And Madoka, she's like, oh my God, that's her! And Kyoko's like, listen, you gotta try to reach her, okay? You gotta try to reach her. Do the best job that you can, and I'll try to protect you. And so Madoka, she kind of, like, nervously, like, approaches Sayaka, and Sayaka doesn't even notice her at first. And she's like, Sayaka, it's me, it's your friend, it's Madoka. And then Sayaka just goes, ah! And she just starts launching, like, all this shit at Madoka, and Kyoko's like, God damn it. And she's blocking all this stuff, and Madoka's just trying to reach Sayaka, just screaming her name. She's like, I'm your friend. We're here to help you. Kyoko's here to help you. But Kyoko realizes, like, she might also be kind of pissed off at me since, we weren't exactly on the best of terms before, which is pretty true. badass, but Monica is just trying to reach her. Sayaka, she's dodging all these various attacks. The environment starts like cracking and splintering. Eventually, the entire floor gives way and they all fall down like the giant, like kaiju size, Sayaka abomination falls through, and they crash into like this like not like another concert hall, and we see this shadowy figure that I feel like is supposed to represent Kyosuke, her one true love that she feels like she never could have or deserve. And she sees that shadowy figure and it enrages her, and she just grabs Monica. She just goes, and she just grabs her, and Monica's like, Sayaka, please, you're crushing me. And we just start to hear like the bones break, and Monica's like, and then Kyoko's just like, I have to do it, I'm sorry. And she just thrusts herself, she launches herself at Monica and at Sayaka. Which Sayaka? She gets out her spear and she slashes the hand. The kaiju hand of Sayaka, and cuts it off. And just this giant wave of blue blood just sprays into the air and just covers them. And Sayaka's like, it's like, oh my God. And, Monica, she fucking falls to the ground. But thankfully, chat, the 11th hour, Homura arrives, and she grabs onto Madoka, who seems to be, injured. And Homura is just like, let me help you. And we noticed, chat, apparently, when Kyoko went to cut off Sayaka's hand, Sayaka unleashed some sort of attack at Kyoko and cut her abdomen. Cut her entire fucking abdomen, chat, and she's like bleeding everywhere, and she's literally holding in her fucking guts. She's literally holding in her large and small intestine. Her fucking stomach's coming out, and she's like, I don't think I'm gonna make it. It's not looking good. And she creates this huge barrier. She creates this huge wall between her, Homura, and Madoka, and she's like, you guys gotta get out of here. I tried to save her. I gotta kill her. This is the only way to do it. And Homura's like, you can't. She's like, you gotta go. Just fucking go. And so Homura takes Madoka, and they start running out there, and Kyoko is just vomiting up blood and shit. She's holding in her guts and intestines, and she looks at Sayaka, and she's like, I'm sorry. You didn't deserve this. None of us deserve this, but this is the way it has to be. This is the way it needs to end. As long as our friends are safe, at the very least, I can make sure that they will live on. And so she activates like her spear. She makes it even larger, and she takes her soul gem and she crushes it. And as she's like thrusts herself at Sayaka, the spear penetrates the body of which Sayaka goes right into her, and then boom, this massive explosion, and the explosion just completely envelops them, and it eviscerates them, it explodes them, it turns them into just ash as Homura and Madoka escape, as the labyrinth just falls around them, and we see that both Sayaka and Kyoko are dead. We then cut to Homura, who is in her apartment, her weird, creepy fucking apartment, and she just has her head in her hands like she doesn't know what to do. And Kube arrives. Kube's like, hey, how you doing? And she's just so infuriated with him. She's just disgusted by him. And she's like, I have one question for you. And he's like, actually, no, she said, I have two questions for you. He's like, did you know Kyoko was going to do this? And was it, no, she this is what she says. She asks him, was it ever possible? Was it ever possible for Kyoko to save Sayaka? And he just looks at her, and it's like his little smiles on his face, and he says, No. No, of course not. And she's like, then why did you let her do this? Why do you let her do this? And he's like, listen, you humans, you people, you ask all these questions and inevitably it doesn't even matter. He's like, no, I knew that it wouldn't have worked, but this is what needed to happen. Because now, with both Sayaka dead and Kyoko dead, you're alone. And it's only going to be you and Walberschnott, this very powerful witch. And you know that you are not powerful enough to take that witch on alone. And so the only way you'll be able to defeat them, the only way you'll be able to save this city, the only way you'll be able to save anyone that you truly care about is if Madoka becomes a magical girl. Now it needs to happen. And it's what I've wanted the entire time. And that, my friends, is my review, my spoiler review, my scene by scene breakdown to Madoka Magica episode 9. Kube, you son of a bitch, this was all part of his plan. This was all part of his plan. He purposely didn't want to give Kyoko the answer that she obviously wanted. He was always telling half-truths. He's always telling half-lies. And, yeah, he wanted this all to happen because at the end of the day, the things that he wants most is Madoka become a magic girl. Because for whatever reason, he sees some sort of potential. He sees this power inside of her. And I forgot to say this. He's like, listen, Madoka, you will not only become the most powerful magic girl that's ever set foot on this planet, but you will become the most powerful witch. It's inevitable. I was like, oh, you son of a bitch. He just wanted this the entire time. But yeah, another great episode. Terrible and tragic end for Sayaka and Kyoko. And now Sayaka's body is just rotten in in her room somewhere. Oh my God, she's gonna start stinking it up. But yeah, a really good episode. If you guys have not been checking out this series, highly recommend. I'm doing audio commentaries for them as well. And we have a couple more episodes left. How many more episodes are left of Madoka Magica? I'm actually very curious. Let's see. I think there's like 12. I want to say. I think there's like 12. And I guess there's three more to go. Wow, 3 more to go. So 12, and then there's like a couple movies too. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the review. I hope you enjoyed the review too, Isaac Stevenson. It's because of that chick Isaac Stevenson that I'm doing this review series in the first place. So huge thank you to you. Appreciate that. This is officially a Lovecraftian cosmic horror story now. Literally everything is being manipulated by ancient evil godlike beings, in this case Kube, who just sees humans as like, yeah, he really does. It's just, the humans are meats in the end. They're meat. They're more meat for the grinder. It's like we're trying to find a new source of energy, and apparently he's just like, well, you broads are pretty emotional, so... What he says is like, you women, oh my God. Yeah, he's manipulating them, he's lying to them, he's just doing what he wants to do in order to create these sources of energy that are, empowering the universe itself and empowering himself and his own people as well. So yeah, it's really interesting, really dark, really fucked up, and I love it. Really good. About that, chat, we're going to go ahead and move on to the next part of my stream today. It all leads up to the next episode. Prepare yourself. Yes, I'm so excited. I just want Kube to fucking get God. Listen, it was so satisfying to see him get shot the one episode prior, episode 8. It was like, oh, he's finally dead. But this guy's got to go. Him and his entire fucking race need to be wiped off the face of the universe. Like, they're so despicable. It's like, they don't even realize. That's the thing about it. Like, they have evolved to a point where they are incapable of emotions, and that's why they can't understand, like, human emotions or anything. They just literally look at all these different civilizations and races they come across as you stated, Batboy, as playthings, as tools, to create this new source of energy to keep the universe alive. At least that's their view of it. Which that in itself could be flawed. We don't exactly know, but man, one of my favorite new anime villains, Kube. So good. And Kube is really fascinating, dark take on the magic girl anime sidekick. Yeah, that's right. It was in every anime. He's just a very alien, amoral version of Luna the Cat in Sailor Moon. Yep, 100%. Good shit. Good shit.